Well, hey, everybody. Happy Thursday to you. That shot look a little crooked.
It's Thursday morning. This camera's ready for the weekend. Just like I think you all are.
Yeah.
I know I am.
Yeah. It's about that time.
Yes,
What's
come on
up,
in.
y'all? Come on into Rooted
Yes.
in Progress. Your hosts, Deanne King and Terrence Middlebrooks, back with another goodie.
Yeah?
Isn't there a saying, a goodie for you? No?
Nah, that must be a Tallahassee thing.
Got it.
Yeah, never heard that.
How you doing today, Terrence?
Hey, I'm well, man. How are you, Deanne?
I am doing well.
How you feeling?
A lot better.
Good.
A little sick last few days. So if y'all hear a little
Well,
cough.
I think it's normal. You know what I said the other day? Can I say
normal.
something?
Sure.
You know, ever since COVID, people been, let me back that up. So we're in this peak of allergy season, so everyone's been sneezing and sniffling. But a cough, you know what I describe a cough today? A cough is like the new poop, right? When somebody cough, think about that now. When somebody cough, people look around, people back away and step away, right? Because they don't want to catch anything. Can you just let that brew right quick? You guys feel me over there? Yeah.
I have no words.
When a person cough around you today, man, they are, let me get away from here. Right?
I don't know
Think
what's
about
happened
that.
with our show.
Hey, this is where we are, guys. This is Thursday.
I don't know what has happened.
I told you
with
we
Rooted in
ready for the
Progress.
weekend. So listen, guys, we're going to dive into this show on that note.
What is happening? Oh
On
my
that
goodness.
note-
Can we bring in our guest? Because I need for Martenzie Johnson to save Terrence at this point.
No.
I'm super excited. Let's welcome in ESPN reporter, host, also with Anscape, Martenzie Johnson, coming in from Maryland.
Yeah,
Maryland.
yeah.
That's how you
Martenzie.
say it.
Merlin.
Yeah.
Merlin.
Maryland. How you doing today, Martenzie?
I'm good. I gotta say, y'all said I was coming on here to talk football, and the first thing I hear
Yeah.
is about Putin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Hey, you don't know
I
what
feel
you're gonna
like
walk
I've
into.
been ambushed here a little bit, but
Me
I'm
too.
happy to be here.
But
Nice to
Martenzie,
meet
do you
too.
feel me? You travel. You feel me, right?
I mean, coughing is worse. Like a poot can't give you COVID. So
well, I don't know about
would-
that. That's
Yeah.
where you pulled that from, my guy. That
I'm just saying,
that's new.
one's way worse than the other.
Yeah,
What has
but
happened to our
since
show?
COVID, man, I think the cough is worse.
Man.
This is where we
wow. That's well, welcome
But yes.
to Rooted in Progress,
Yeah,
where
what a great introduction.
I mean, yeah, I have no words. But I mean, yes, this is the chill. This is the show we invited you on,
Yeah.
Martenzie. So
Yeah.
welcome.
No, thank you. This is definitely what I plan to do. At
Martenzie,
9:30
you
in the
took
morning.
the invite. And we're thankful for that. You took the invite. Welcome, my
Listen,
friend.
y'all, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people are still talking about the draft. They're still talking about Shedeur Sanders. They're still talking about these prank calls because we literally had that in the newscast today about how Atlanta Falcons getting fined, the defensive coordinator getting fined, all the things. We also want to talk about some of your work, Martenzie. So we have a lot to cover. Those folks who are joining us live right now from the Facebook page or our app, tap in, write some comments if y'all have any questions for Martenzie. He is well-versed. Just some of the articles I've seen, this man knows a lot,
Yeah.
even beyond the scope of sports. So I'm so excited to kind of like dive into your mind after I've already stalked you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. One, thank you for reading the work. Like, I don't see it as stalking. Like, I just see you as, taking
Being a
in
journalist.
excellent written work. You doing what you're supposed to do. You're doing what you get paid to do. So I appreciate it.
Period. That's what I'm talking about. Let's talk about you a little bit. How did you get to ESPN? What does your journey look like in this world of journalism?
Yeah, so for undergrad, I went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So I'm from Milwaukee, so kind of right up the street going there, majoring in journalism. I worked for about a year, and I wasn't sure that was the path I wanted to go on. So, what does anyone do when they're not sure? They go back to school. So I went to the University of Missouri for their journalism program too, did some internships with MLB.com and some other things. And right when I graduated, within a week of graduation, I got a call from ESPN about an internship that I had applied for, or more like a fellowship that I had applied for. And I'm to this day, it's been 10 years. Deanne. And I have no clue when I applied for that job.
Wow.
But I did, apparently. And so they called me back and set up the interview. And so I got the job a couple months after graduation, kind of just, again, in that fellowship role. I worked for the ESPN Fantasy Group for about a year. And then in 2016, ESPN launched The Undefeated, or what was then known as Undefeated is now as Anscape, which centered on kind of Black culture within the sports landscape. And so I shifted over from ESPN proper to Anscape and, started off as a kind of researcher editor role and then kind of worked my way up to, the writer position that I have now, where I don't specifically just cover one team or one sport, kind of a generalist role. So I've done NFL, I've done NBA, I've done women's basketball, I've done hockey, I've done baseball, I've done soccer. So I kind of just jump in where I can and to, kind of just tell these amazing stories about Black athletes and, kind of what they're doing in their space.
Does it covering all these sports? How often are you on the road, Martenzie?
Not as much as you think. COVID stopped a lot of that.
Things,
so,
yeah.
So sometimes what I would have done in person, I can do over like we're doing here. I can do over Zoom or whatever it might be. But these last couple of months, I've been on the road a lot, going to the combine. I went to Oregon for a story on a women's basketball player. Went to Houston a couple months ago to do an NFL draft story. So we're going to talk about Shedeur Sanders eventually, but that was on his quarterback trainer that he's been with since he was in high school.
Wow.
So it just takes me everywhere. Like I said, it's a variety of different sports, different teams, that sort of thing, different athletes. But I get to just tell them, these stories about these amazing people and how they got to the point that they're in, the amazing stuff that they're doing within the sport that they play, or what stuff that they're doing in the community.
Man, what a blessed job, man.
That it is a blessing.
Yeah.
That's why immediately when you talked about the Undefeated, I knew exactly what that was.
Yep.
And I love knowing that there are people doing this in other spaces, right? So like we have Rooted in Progress, which is all about the progression within Black communities here in Tampa Bay and across our country. I actually do a segment called For the Culture where I'm able to talk about minorities in our community who are making a difference. And it just brings us so much joy, right? To be able to utilize and see us in different ways, especially in the news. So what does it mean to you to be able to specifically focus on Black culture and sports and the intersectionality within those two?
Yeah, so within journalism, I don't have to tell you all this, but there's not too many Black people who are in that space, right?
Period.
Yeah, right. And especially in sports, I don't know the recent numbers, but like it's well below 10%. Of Black men and women who kind of make up this space. And so to be able to, one, just be here and doing that, I take that as kind of a responsibility to not only tell these stories correctly, right? Because we run into issues where, people who aren't Black trying to tell these stories, you're not familiar with kind of the upbringings that these people have, the communities that they live in. And so I take it upon myself to like take that seriously. Like I'm not going to get it right all the time, but like I have a specific care that I give to these stories because we have centuries of evidence of when you kind of parachute into communities you're not familiar with, you're not telling the stories correctly, or you're telling the same stereotypical stories all the time. One good example being like the Black kid from poverty kind of making it. Like I've read that 1,000 times, and like that happens. But like there's people like me too who come from a middle class background.
Yes.
I didn't grow up across the street from a crack house or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like there's we're not a monolith, as we like to say, and so I take specific care to do that. But then also just talking about these stories just overall. Is really just a joy for me because this is what the things that I think about on a daily basis. I'm able to just that's my job to talk about it rather than just tweet about it on the internet or something like that. Like I actually get to kind of get my hands dirty with it. So no, I love it and it's much needed because again, there's not a lot of Black people in this space, and stories that are told about Black people sometimes run the same a lot of the time.
Who was some of the writers and sports reporters that you looked up to growing up, or even when you got into this field?
I was too late to Ralph Wiley. I wasn't there for that, but kind of his descendants after that. Jamel Hill kind of stood out just when I was in college. Like she was probably one of the more prominent black reporters, or she spent time in Florida too. Jamel Hill was definitely one of those. As far as like TV wise. Martenzie Jones, again, I think we have similar understandings about how the world works, particularly for Black people. And so like that was someone who was saying the things that I was thinking when I was still in school and stuff like that. So those two definitely stood out, but there's a lot of others. There's Michael Smith. There's a laundry list of Black reporters who you just look up and see like, oh, I can do, I think representation can sometimes be overblown, but like when you look and see these people like, oh, they allow us to do this, so I have a chance to actually do this too. So it was those three kind of stand out, but there were plenty.
Yes, awesome. Good for you, and congratulations. I love, like I said before, to be in spaces where we can do this is rare, for one. To be able to, like you said, there's a sense of, there's this care and there's this responsibility that we all have. Like when me and Terrence come into this Dream Center and for Rooted in Progress, like there's a responsibility that we have, not only for us, but for our community. Right. So I love to hear that and the respect that you have for what you do. So thank you for what you do. We got to get into this tea. We need to talk about Shedeur. Please give me your thoughts as a fan, right? As a consumer, but also as a journalist. What was going on in your mind during this draft?
Yeah, so let's start from the like non-job portion of it, just watching Shedeur. There was a tweet that I sent, and I made sure to remember this for this, by the way. There was a tweet that I sent on September 3rd, 2023, which was Shedeur's first start, or the day after Shedeur's first start at Colorado. And I put Shedeur Sanders, top 10 draft pick soon come, because he had just hung 500 yards on TCU, which had been in the national championship the year before. He had 4 touchdowns and completed 80% of his passes. It wasn't just the counting stats, right? We can kind of get lost in what we see on paper, but it was just kind of, I don't have a better word, so I have to say it, aura of him, that he just seemed like he was in complete control, and he just seemed like a complete quarterback. And unlike a lot of Black quarterbacks who came before him, he wasn't doing it by running. Like, I'm not even sure Shedeur Sanders is faster than me. So he has to play in the pocket, much like what NFL evaluators want. So I saw it then. Now, the season didn't end up, that last season didn't end up the way that they wanted to, but then they came back again this year, and he played just as well. Like, again, they didn't make it to the college football playoff or anything like that, but to take a team that had won one game the season prior, or I think it's one game, and to turn it around pretty quickly in 2 years, I thought Shedeur played exceptional. And again, just looking at him play. Now, I didn't watch all, 25, 26 games that he played over the last 2 years at Colorado, but just from what I saw of the 6-7 games that I was able to catch live, when the game was on the line, and that included against TCU and Colorado State that first year, Shedeur did not falter. And you look for that type of composure in a quarterback. That's what I assume NFL evaluators look for in a quarterback. So I thought almost 2 years ago, that Shedeur was a lock to be a top 10 draft pick. And to see it happen that way, I think there's a laundry list of reasons why it didn't, and I can get into that more. But just based off of just what I watched myself, I thought he was at least a first or second round quarterback. Well, now,
go ahead. Go ahead, Martenzie.
I was gonna say, and then now on the other side of that, of why this might have happened, I'll take the bad first. Of what I at least saw myself for Shedeur. There is a confidence that can slip easily into arrogance, right? Like him and Dion basically saying most of this past year that they can decide where Shedeur goes, not where he's drafted. I can see how that's a little bit off-putting, right?
Right.
So I can get that. The Rolly celebration, I thought that was unbecoming of someone of his stature, right? I can see some AAU basketball kids doing that, right? Like 10, 11-year-olds, but like, I just thought it was over the top. Like, you are really good.
I don't know about the celebration,
think you need to
Martenzie.
like flex your Rolly or your fake Rolly. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not a prude.
Because we know the NFL, the college football touchdown celebrations have gone back and gotten wild. If back in history, I think going back to what you were saying is also the NFL is a business. So not only they're looking at if you can play at that level, but also character. And to your point exactly, I truly believe that that's the reason why he slipped so far down. Like you said, it was the arrogance that kind of slipped, or the confidence that kind of slipped into arrogance.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's I don't think it was to the point where like he can't mature, because I think Shedeur is only 23 years old, right? So like who he is now is not who he's going to be 5 years or even a year from now, right? So I think he can grow from that. And I kind of saw that in that video he posted after he didn't go in the first round, where he wasn't bombastic or anything like that or pointing fingers. He's like, this isn't the way I thought it would go, but like this is gonna light a fire in me. And then you saw when he got drafted in the 5th round, he's jumping in the pool. He's excited because he really wants to play football. At least that's the gist. That's what I got from him. So I think he can. He's not like his father in that sense, where he's just going to be ultra, prime time all the time. Like I think at the root of this, I think he's a good kid. He stopped the Rollie celebration this year, as far as I can tell. So I think he learns from those mistakes and things like that. But I think there's a legitimate reason of why, like, and if any of the anonymous quotes about him being brash or him not taking meetings with the team seriously, if that's true, then that's a legitimate cause. However, when it comes to, and I think race has been blamed on this a lot, or at least like how Black confidence can be policed has been brought into this. I'm not in a position to give the NFL the benefit of the doubt when it comes to race, and particularly race with the quarterback position. Because I've seen too many times back in history, Black quarterbacks just didn't have a chance to play in the league, right? So the NFL started, or some iteration of the NFL started in the 1920s. Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not have their first Black starting quarterback until 1976. And that's because Steve Spurrier got hurt for a game, right? The first Black NFL quarterback to be drafted #1 overall didn't happen almost 80 years after the invention of the NFL. Colin Kaepernick, and it's different because it's not because of what Shedeur is saying per se, but Colin Kaepernick stopped playing in the NFL because of a stance that he took. So the NFL has plenty of reason for me to be skeptical of it not being about race, but I just think it's a confluence of a lot of things. And at the end of the day, Shedeur did get drafted, and I think, ironically enough, he's put in the best position he possibly could with the Cleveland Browns. And I know that's crazy to say about the Cleveland Browns, but
are you saying that because of Deshaun?
A myriad of reasons. Thank you for even asking. Exactly. Their starting quarterback tore his Achilles twice in the last couple of months. Another quarterback that they brought in
40 years old.
Got kicked out. 40 years old, Joe Flacco. Kenny Pickett has not been able to keep a job for the last couple of years. And then Dylan Gabriel, who just happened to be drafted 2 rounds ahead of Shedeur Sanders. And it calls into question how much faith the Browns have in Dylan Gabriel, because why would you then draft another quarterback 2 rounds later? So, I think it's a position for him to not only make the team, but again, based on the 2 who would be the favorite, which is Deshaun Watson and Joe Flacco, one definitely isn't playing next year, and the other should have probably retired a couple years ago.
Right.
That's fair. That's fair. You brought up Deion.
Yeah.
And the role that his dad could have played in all this. Because I think, like, for me, what happened with me was the draft was happening. I went to bed. I woke up and was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, Shedeur still hasn't been picked. And then day 2, same thing happened. And then I started to think of reasons why. And the first reason that came to my mind was Deion Sanders.
And perhaps the control that he may have with Shedeur and his future.
Yeah.
Do you believe that? Do you think that's it?
I think it adds to the list of things. Like I said, like Deion, for all the great, Deion was out here wilding over the last couple of years. If you can remember
Deion's draft night, if you remember Deion's draft day, Deion was really the first player to start the whole flashy outfit, the gold chains, the sunglasses.
Then he had a big old cell phone.
He had the big old cell phone. He had the Jerry curl dripping. Yeah. So, and it just, that's who Deion is. And it's unfortunately spilled over to his kids, not to that extent that he was at that age. But I think this was the NFL's stamp as to let Deion know that, hey, we're in control.
Yeah, this is our league. And so for Deion's sake, like Deion could do the things that Deion did because Deion was one of the best quarterbacks, return men of all time. And on the side, play Major League Baseball. So like you
Right.
can kind of get away with those sorts of things. And Shedeur, as good as he is not the best quarterback we've seen over the last couple of years or whatever it may be. So like again, you can't pull the same days. But as far as what Dion was doing in this process, like again, he's months ago saying, "Oh, I can, he ain't playing for these in these cities or
Right.
for these teams. Like I want him to play in these specific. Like you don't control that. Like you can
You
control
don't.
where your son goes to high school. You can control where your son goes to college, and then where he transfers while he's in college. But you don't have that much control over the NFL. And did part of this about kind of letting Dion know his place? Maybe, perhaps, right? But I will say a couple months ago, Dion was also supposedly a candidate for NFL head coaching job. So they know who Dion is, and don't seem to have a problem with it there. So I don't know how much it played for him, but I know that how he was talking was just kind of crazy when you don't have any say over where your kid goes.
So speaking of quarterbacks and draft picks, we know that this year was not really unusual for quarterbacks. There was only a few that went first round, only a few that was available. Do you feel that Shedeur would have had a better chance if he'd have came out last year? Now we got to think in that draft class, that 2024 draft class was quarterback heavy. Caleb Williams, your Drake May, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Do you think he would have had a better chance coming out last year or
Compared
a higher
to
pick
this year?
than this year?
I think, again, watching him early in that 2023 season, I think it stamped for him that he was ready to go to the NFL at whatever cost. Now, if the draft process went the same exact way as it did this year, I think the same thing would have happened, especially because Caleb Williams at the time seemed like a can't miss prospect. Jaden Daniels, maybe not as much as Caleb Williams, but then turned out to be a very good quarterback. I think he probably would have gone behind them regardless. What happened after those two, I'm not exactly sure, but I thought it was a kind of a strike while the iron is hot sort of situation last year. But also I can understand things did not go well at the end of the season in the 2023 season for Colorado, and running it back with his dad seemed, he still had eligibility. So why not do it? So I can understand going back, but I thought his best chances were last year because I thought he looked really good on tape last year. But no, I think it would have been the same thing if what we're hearing, which again is based on anonymous sources to reporters, if he still had that idea of I get to decide where I go, or I'm not going to be prepared
And
when I
some
go
of
into
his
these
interviews,
meetings.
yeah, some of the interviews didn't go well, and there was that arrogance that came across even like in interviews and stuff. And so I feel like it's unfortunate, but when you bring in the conversation about race, that's when sometimes you got to move a little different. And I saw this conversation on Twitter or X. Where people were actually comparing current Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterback Baker Mayfield. If you remember, Baker Mayfield had that arrogance, kind of cockiness to him, that kind of swagger to him as well going into the draft. And we see what happened with Baker Mayfield. And then people are trying to, they were trying to relate that to people like Shedeur. Why is this such a big deal? Why is arrogance such a big deal when it comes to the black man?
Yeah.
It's
I think
interesting.
I think the simple answer to that is white arrogance. We could keep using the word arrogance and confidence, kind of use them interchangeably, but like white arrogance is celebrated, right? And black arrogance is policed. And I think there are similarities between him and Baker. But I will say what's helped Baker over the last couple of years is because Baker, he was getting released in the middle of seasons, coming in, playing mop-up duty for teams, and now he's a consecutive starter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because he calmed all that down. This man had commercials. That's how much the confidence that Baker Mayfield would celebrate. I don't know if you know this. He don't got them commercials no more. And I think it's because partly his play, but also because of the attitude that Baker had at the time. And he seemed to have calmed down a little bit and matured, which I kind of said earlier about Shedeur, where who he is now is not who he's going to be for the rest of his life. And I think Shedeur can probably take notes from Baker and how yeah, the, against all odds sort of mentality, and I take everything as a slight, and, I want to be the center of attention thing. It works for you. And if that makes you the best quarterback you can possibly be, then lean into that. But I think after a while, you do have to realize, like, college or high school and college are not the NFL. And, like, it might be unfair of how they view you and how they see, how they view how you carry yourself and how it compares to someone else. But the game is a game, and, like, you want to play this game. And so I'm not saying you have to give in and be someone that you're not supposed to be, but you could be a little bit more professional in things. And I think he's already done that. I think he's matured from year one at Colorado to year two. But yeah, Baker is a really good example. But the caveat too of Baker was a better college football quarterback as well. Hence why he went number one overall. And so Baker had that leg up on him. But other than that, no, I think there really are similarities.
Now let's continue to talk about father influence. Let's go back to the 2004 draft with Eli Manning going to the first pick of the draft was San Diego Chargers.
Yep.
And for those that don't know, he chose not to go there. Daddy stepped in and said that we're not playing for San Diego, Arch Manning. And during the draft, there was a trade with the New York Giants. So you tell me, what is the difference between those two scenarios? And look at the similarities. And I really want your take, because that's all I've been seeing on social media is just the feed of, the Manning that did this, did that,
Yeah.
How come they wasn't so-called blackballed or whatever? So
yeah. Yeah, so there's no difference, right? But I will say I was reading up on this because, again, Eli is the best example of trying to dictate where you go when it compares to Shedeur. So I did read up on this, and Archie Manning is saying, actually, I was not the one who came up with this idea. It was Eli himself. Eli didn't want to play in San Diego, and so he finagled this trade to get out of it and then get traded to the Giants the day of the draft. So this has happened before, and I guess I don't have an explanation for it.
Yeah,
right? Like, for whatever reason, the Giants did not mind that a player they were drafting could step out of line in such a way in that profession and say, I'm gonna do what I want. But I will say, we know we're talking families, but Eli wasn't the only quarterback who did that. John Elway refused to play for the Baltimore Colts and got traded to the Denver Broncos. Jim Kelly got drafted by the Buffalo Bills and was like, I don't want to play anywhere cold. And for 3 years, he did not play for the Buffalo Bills because he was in what was in the USFL. I don't remember which one, but he was in another professional league because he did not want to play for the Bills. He eventually went there and then went to 4 Super Bowls. So
let's keep in mind Bo Jackson as well.
Bo Jackson
was drafted by the Bucks and chose to jump to go to baseball because he didn't want to play with the Buccaneers.
Oh, wow.
So Shedeur and Dion, whatever combination you want to put in there, they're not the first ones to ever try something like this. The villainization, it might be, right? The villainization of it, even last year, there were rumblings. How much is true, I don't know, but based on quotes from Caleb Williams' father, there was at least some inkling in their mind, we don't want to get drafted by the Chicago Bears. But eventually that went away and he did eventually get drafted by them. So this happens not all the time, right? But it doesn't happen often, but like it does happen.
Yeah.
And I think it's a matter of recency bias, right? Like we're seeing it now. It's just like, well, why didn't Eli get taken to task for doing this? He might have. I imagine some people didn't appreciate it at the time, but it's like we didn't have Twitter in 2004. We didn't have Twitter in 1983 for John Elway. So there might have been pushback, but this is the most recent thing. And so you kind of can point to that and say, well, how did they get away with this? I don't know, because it's Peyton Manning's brother. Like, it might be as simple as that. Like, I mean, race is going to play a part in it, but like it's the Mannings have all the cash here in the world. And so they might have used it. But yeah, I'm not sure, but the only thing I can just say is like, I don't know.
Go talk to a San Diego Chargers fan during that draft, because then Eli went on to win 2 Super Bowls where Phillip Rivers was just a career quarterback in San Diego. I don't even know how many playoff games he won.
And he had, I mean, the teams were good. This just happened to be around the same time that the Patriots were winning all the Super Bowls and the Steelers were going to Super Bowls and so on and so forth. So it just didn't work out for Phillip Rivers. But I think everyone kind of won in that situation with Eli going to New York, with Ben Roethlisberger going to Pittsburgh, and then Phillip Rivers going to the Chargers. But I will say this too, last thing on this point. I get it, Eli, because the San Diego Chargers are a bit of a joke of a franchise, and so much of a joke that they don't even play in San Diego anymore.
Right.
So I get it. And it worked out for him because he got 2 Super Bowls out of it.
That is true. I wanna dive into some of your work. And so I came across your article about the tiers and the different classes of Black NFL quarterbacks, what it takes to get to that point. Let folks know what this article was about and ultimately what you found out.
Yeah, so this is something we started not for the 2024 season, but we started a year prior. So this is my second time doing it. It was basically, we've reached a point in the NFL where there are so many Black quarterbacks that I could rank them all in one story. Like we used to be in a situation where there were like 2, 3 Black quarterbacks starting in the NFL. Now over half of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL are Black. And with Cam Ward getting drafted, that number might go up as well, right? And so it was just kind of a fun thought exercise to go through of like where we are with these quarterbacks and how each of them are different in different classes. So at the top of the class, it's just Patrick Mahomes by himself, right? Like there's just no comparing anyone to him. So how we did it was like, okay, there's rookies, there's people who are going to be in their second year, there's people who probably have lost their starting job, but maybe not can be a backup. And then those who have a starting job, but they're not quite in that Mahomes tier of this team is never getting rid of them. Jalen Hurts is getting close. Once you win the Super Bowl, you get a way longer leash than anyone else. But someone like Geno Smith, who's been a starter the last couple of years, might start for the Raiders this year, but he did lose his job essentially by getting traded. But then you have the second-year players like a Caleb Williams and a Jaden Daniels, and looking at how the rookie seasons went and how they could possibly build on that going into the next season. Jaden Daniels seems pretty straight, right? Like I think the Commanders are basically in a position of let's try and win a Super Bowl now, you know, while we can, and we don't have to pay Jaden Daniels $50 million a year. The Bears, not as much, but Caleb Williams showed some flashes last season of why he was drafted number 1 overall. But then you just got some people in the middle, and you just don't know what's going to happen with them next. An excellent example of this is Kyler Murray in Arizona.
Dak Prescott?
Oh, Dak and Kyler. Now, the Cowboys did not draft Shedeur Sanders, so Dak is safe for a few more years. But someone Kyler Murray, it seemed like 2 years ago he was on his way out for Arizona, but he still has a job now. But I think one more kind of subpar, mediocre season from him, and I think the Cardinals have to look elsewhere. It's unfair because it seems like Kyler just got there, but I think this is year 6 for him, and it just hasn't panned out the way they were supposed to. So it's really just, it shows what progress we have kind of made in the NFL that I could write I think a 2,000-word piece on the different types of quarterbacks that we have in the NFL, whereas, you know, 10, 15 years ago, there were only like 5 of them. And so we reached a stage where like, you don't have to be, I think this is the overall point I was trying to make with the story. You don't have to be Patrick Mahomes to be a Black quarterback in the NFL anymore. Right. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the best quarterback prospect. You don't have to be like Michael Vick, where it's just something we've never seen before. You can be all right. Right. And you can still get a job, because throughout the history of the NFL, there have been pretty white quarterbacks. But they get the benefit of the doubt because of whiteness. And so now you can be, you can get drafted number 1 overall. You can be a second-year player, still trying to learn from your mistakes as a rookie. You can be an backup, or you can be like, again, superstar levels of like a Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, or Patrick Mahomes.
And to your point, Martenzie, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure to hold that position in the NFL, to carry a franchise, to be a face of the franchise, and to be Black. You know, there was one point where, you know, they were told that Black quarterbacks aren't smart enough to play quarterback in the NFL or to hold that position. So it's a lot of pressure. You're right. Your Jaden Daniels, your Kyler Murrays, your Jordan Loves, your Jalen Hurts, you know. And I'm not an Eagles fan by no means, but man, my hat's off to Jalen Hurts. And again, like you said, Patrick Mahomes. for taking it to the top, to the mountaintop, and winning that championship. It's a huge hurdle. Now, all eyes on them, and whatever thing, one slight thing they do wrong, bam, they could be easily blackballed and out of the NFL.
Yeah. What my takeaway from your article was just that, was the fact that we can even have a conversation with so many tiers and so many levels and classes of Black NFL quarterbacks. That, to me, it was my takeaway from that article, because the fact that we can even have a conversation like that shows the progress. It shows how we're actually getting somewhere in spaces where at one point, as you mentioned, Martenzie, we weren't qualified for, or people didn't deem us as qualified or see us as qualified or worthy enough of being in those positions. So hats off to you for even doing an article like that and putting that out there, because it's needed. Yeah.
So
like we're not, again, I don't think there's a percentage of Black quarterbacks, or even can pull coaches in here. I don't think there's a percentage that needs to be met for me to be satisfied about how Black quarterbacks are treated. But like, it's just stark in just the raw numbers of, hey man, over half of the starting quarterbacks to start a season are Black. Whereas, like you all mentioned, years ago, any Black quarterback who was running in college or was good at running in college, they wanted to switch you to receiver. Lamar Jackson is
great example.
We beat on Bill Polian a lot for this, but like, he has to be kind of the poster child for this. But like, to think that someone like Lamar Jackson and what he's been able to accomplish and what he had accomplished at Louisville before he was even drafted, to say that man was not only not a NFL level quarterback, but to say he needed to switch positions, like, we're only 7 years removed from that. And now
look at him.
You see these numbers.
So going back to the draft, going back to Shedeur, number 1 overall pick to the Tennessee Titans was Cam Ward out of University of Miami. Who do you think? Do you think Cam was deserving of that number 1 pick? Do you think Cam's a better quarterback than Shedeur? They had their little competition battle on social media where they were just warming up, going, jawing back and forth with each other. What's your take on the two?
So interesting enough, Shedeur and Cam share the same QB trainer who I was talking about. So Daryl Colbert Jr. down in Houston. So I went in and profiled him, and Cam happened to be down there while I was there, and just watching him in person, going through drills, and obviously what I had seen from him in Miami, like he's exceptional. And I do believe that he was a better prospect than Shedeur was. He does have the arm strength. He's just a bigger guy too. And again, I don't think TV does justice in just how quickly these guys move. Like, you see it on, it's like, okay, they're moving pretty fast, but legit, like, one of the things I was trying to do was to count the drop step, right? So you have a 3-step, 5-step, and even in some cases 7. He was moving so fast, I could not tell if it was 3 or 5. So much that I just had to record on my video and slow it down. And it's not just Cam, like, it's probably all of them, but like, that's how quickly they can move. And so the way he can position his body, get himself in position to make the right throw, I think Cam is great. And he has a great story too of having really no offers coming out of college, playing at the Division 2 or 3 level, his first year transferring to Washington State, which was at the time a Power 5 school. Now it's Power 4, and then going to Miami after that and excelling at every single level, and now is a number 1 pick. Like, he's got the goods, I think, and he has what they say, a nice head on his shoulders too. And just talking to him, like, he's just a nice guy, and he doesn't come off as kind of an a-hole or anything like that. And so, I think Cam is definitely deserving of it, and I think that's because there was a Travis Hunter in the draft, because there was a Shedeur Sanders in the draft. I think you can lose sight of who the number 1 pick was and what his story was. And it's a quintessential, football or sports story of being looked over and then, kind of reaching the highest, level of competition. So Cam is great. I think he's really good.
I think he definitely deserved to go number 1. Over Shedeur,
and
for sure.
And I think if this was last year, maybe, again, Caleb, I think that's a good thought exercise of Caleb and Jaden and Cam Ward. But no, he's definitely was deserving of that pick. And just like the Browns, I got questions about the Tennessee Titans as just a franchise
Yes.
overall.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I think they have, for the first time in, this sounds crazy, but I think since Steve McNair,
Vince Young,
this is their
maybe?
first really, really exceptional quarterback that they're
Yeah.
gonna have
Okay.
if he turns out to be who he's supposed to be. So,
We'll
yeah,
see.
I'd be excited if that's what team I was rooting for.
I want to dive into both of y'all's minds because I'm gonna tell y'all where my mind went. I open up my phone and I see these videos of the prank call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I'm a big advocate of like, oh, that's fake. Like, I know what's real. And I was like, oh my God, I think this is fake. Is it AI? It's hard to tell these days with all the AI foolishness. So I'm like, is this real? And oh my gosh, it was real. How, like, should there be more punishment? I mean, I get $350,000 fine between the team and the defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
But that is wild. That's so mean.
Yeah. So as far as the punishment itself, the team 250,000 is a drop in a bucket to them.
Right.
So I think they'll learn from it, because I think the second time around, not only will it be a worse financial punishment, but like we're dealing with privacy issues here, and like you got to stomp that out. So I think it'll be probably worse for the team next time. So they're probably on top of it. For the defensive coordinator, I looked it up, and I think he makes about $1.5 million a year, which is a lot. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But 100,000 of that's it's not a drop in a bucket for him. That's a couple paychecks that he is losing because his son thought it was funny. Not only to make the prank phone call, but then to record it.
Yeah, and post it.
And post on the internet with his face in it.
Why did you keep that to yourself?
Yeah, I mean, we live in an age where everyone got to be a star, and you gotta expose everything. So if I'm his dad, and I don't believe in spanking your child, but if you cost me $100,000,
you're gonna pay
I gotta
for it
consider
somehow.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
like
know
the
what I
kid
mean?
got, yeah, I'm saying, like,
and that's not a kid. Let's go here. Like, is he in
21.
college?
Yeah.
It's a grown man.
He's 21 years old. Yeah, in college. So even more so.
I ain't spanking him. We fighting.
Furniture got to be moving in this situation.
Yeah.
But overall,
absolutely.
with the prank calls themselves, like, it's a childish thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think it's, like I said, it was unbecoming of Shedeur to be doing a Rolly thing. It's unbecoming of a 21-year-old to be doing prank calls. Like, this is something they do in like high school movies, right? Like that's why they find it. You order a bunch of pizzas and send it to someone's house. Like, that's what children do. And so I think it's just a dumb thing. I don't find the humor in just the prank call themselves.
Right.
But then to do it for what's supposed to be the happiest moment of these guys' lives, and you just want to ruin it so you can laugh at it on the internet.
Yeah.
That's the part that kind of hits me the most. And so when it comes to Shedeur himself, if it was just Shedeur that they called, then I would say, okay, all this stuff that has been said about Shedeur leading up to this, and every stereotype that you can put on this kid, like, clearly it's working, and people are dehumanizing Shedeur to the point where they want to ruin what is supposed to be the best day of his life by prank calling him and pretending to draft him. But as we see, Abdul Carter, who went to the Giants, apparently got one as well, and then other prospects who were white got the calls as well. So it wasn't specifically a Shedeur thing, but it does just go overall. Like, there's a lot of mean people in this world, and they're doing mean things and putting it on the internet just because they want to. And I laugh at a lot of things, but this one is just like, it's not funny.
It's not.
To me personally, and two, like, you're just being cruel for cruel's sake, and that's. I really can't rock with that.
So my take on it was that I felt like it was an inside job. Well, at first, and the only reason where I got that analogy from, because I did read or hear that Shedeur had just gotten that phone for the draft.
Specifically.
Because I was thinking that being a college kid at a big school like Colorado, I'm sure there's several classmates and students around there that has his number. And it just kind of somehow fell into the wrong hands. However, when I heard that he specifically got this phone or this number for the draft, and during the combine. Then I realized I felt like it was an inside job. I felt like there was, and then the NFL launched an investigation, and of course we know the results from that. So coming from a coach, from a defensive coordinator, number one, and then the son of that defensive coordinator was shocking. Like, really, like I thought it could have been someone a little bit more closer to his camp that did it. But man, you ask yourself, where do these pieces lie? Like, how did this puzzle connect? So, but you're right, to your point, man. People just want to prey on your downfall. So.
And be mean and hate, and I also really do think that there should be more of a punishment. I don't know what
suspension for the kid.
I don't know, something like something, because that to me it's foul.
It is, and it's, for this case, I don't know how much personal information the student or the son had access to. If it was just a phone number, that's bad enough by itself, but like it's not the worst thing. But like if there's more, if there's addresses, if there's email address, those sorts of things. Again, this is more of a privacy concern more than anything, and I think that's why the NFL handed out the fines that they did, because you cannot have this, right? Like in this case, it was just used for a prank call, but like what happens when it's used for other nefarious reasons?
Right.
And so I think you really do have to kind of stump that out, because it starts with this, but if there is, and again, in this case, it happened to be the son of an NFL employee, but like, what happens when this leaks out in some other form, right? And so, like I think the NFL, the fact that they even looked into this and handed down punishments,
and came quick.
I guess I have to applaud them for that. But I think going forward, I imagine every team is going to be like, no, because he got it off an iPad that his dad had. Like, you got to lock this stuff down, even from your kids and family. Like, we can't be seen as as an organization that's kind of lackadaisical when it comes to shielding people's private information.
It's a lot to come. It's a lot to come, and to see what's going to happen. What do you think? I know it's a broad question, but the future of the NFL, what do you think is next, Martenzie?
Like you said, it's a broad question, but this is one I've been thinking of for a while, and it's happening right in front. This is going to sound like a conspiracy theory as I set this up, but it's happening right in front of us, but I don't think we really realize it.
Okay.
And I do think we're shifting to a world where the NFL someday, it's not going to happen in 5 years or even 10 or maybe in 15. I think it's going to change to flag football at some point. And the reason I say this is because they took the Pro Bowl, which is the All-Star game for the NFL, and it was all contact, right? Like, you could hit people. We've seen this, like with the Commanders. Sean Taylor famously blew up a punter in one of the early 2000s Pro Bowl. So they didn't. After a while, the players stopped taking it seriously, because who wants to get hurt in a glorified All-Star game? And so now that is a flag football game rather than an actual full contact. The NFL has been developing its own flag football program here in the States and abroad. They have international flag football programs. They are investing in women's flag football as well.
The Olympics.
Yep. And then the Olympics in 2028 will feature flag football. And Jalen Hurts was in a commercial for it, announcing the Olympics in a couple of years. And so I really after a while, they're going to realize, as these players continue to get bigger, faster, and stronger, and these hits, as much as you try to legislate it out, keep getting harder. And you're seeing Tua Tagovailoa is still playing, but we've all seen him laid out on the floor enough times where it's kind of seared into our minds. And, they're still going through concussion lawsuits, stuff like that. And so I think in our lifetime, the NFL will... Yeah, because it's bits and pieces of stuff they're doing, and they won't come out and say it. And I don't think they want to do this, because the point of football is the violence, right? It's inherent in it. But after a while, we've evolved so much as human beings that it was dangerous before, but it's super dangerous to be playing football. And I think, again, in our lifetime, I think we'll see that they'll make the switch eventually to less contact, or really even no contact.
Real quick before we wrap, I feel like it's going to be more of an international game. That's kind of where I see it going forward. They're even adding more NFL games overseas. this year. I think it's a total of 7 international games this year.
Yeah.
A little 1 or 2 more than what it was in the previous year. So I see it becoming more of a global game. They'll probably split half of their season in international countries playing. So I think before they do that, before they jump to the flag football world, they'll dive into more global games.
I would be
throughout the season. So
I would be shocked. But you're right. They're policing it more. All of these rules are coming out. You're right with the investment into the flag football leagues, as well as like with the Olympics. Like, why not just put tackle football in there? Why are we putting flag football in there? You're right.
The NFL will dominate the world league.
Wow.
You mentioned international, so they do. So I've done the story on this. This is the only reason I know this, but they have what they call the International Pathway Program, which is, like you said, trying to find talent in other countries, right? The reason why the game isn't as international as the NBA is, right, is because there's not a lot of American football across the world.
Right.
And so they're introducing in these places, sometimes with flag football, sometimes with like actual football, but they're training them. They might not be playing in full kind of 11-on-11 or 7-on-7, but they're going to these places, seeing people who play cricket, seeing people who play soccer, seeing people who play rugby, and seeing if those traits can translate over to football. So they're pulling people from Australia, they're pulling in people from the African continent, they're pulling in people from Europe, all these places, because they want to expand out and get the best athletes that they possibly can. And while they're doing this, as you mentioned, there's a bunch more international games. They just went to Brazil last year. I think they were going to Australia either this year or next year. I don't remember. They've already been to Germany.
London,
They've been to
Berlin,
London,
Madrid, Dublin, Brazil,
Spain, Ireland. They're going to do Ireland. College football just went to Ireland. I asked O.C. Umenyiora, who's a former New York Giant, who's kind of the head of their Africa program. I asked him, are we going to see a game on a continent? And most likely in South Africa. But like he said, once the infrastructure is there for us to do it, we will probably do that too. So they're expanding out both to find talent, but also introduce these places that are unfamiliar with American football, of introducing this new sport to them. Because at the end of the day, we about making money. And they can only make so much money in America, because they kind of tapped us out. Like all games are like $300. So they got to get that money elsewhere. And I think it's going to come from international broadcast rights.
All right.
Listen, that's true. We have we'll see what happens. But if it does happen, we're going to say we heard it first from Martenzie Johnson. Martenzie, thank you for hanging with us. We appreciate you for joining Rooted in Progress.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate your time,
thank you for
brother.
what you're doing, especially for the culture. Everybody follow Martenzie J at Martenzie J. Check out his work at Anscape as well. Show him all the love and all the support. Rooted in Progress. We're here every Thursday, everybody, 9:30 in the morning, live on the WFLA Facebook page and the WFLA app. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe to our episodes. They are posted on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Y'all go out and have an incredible week. We'll see y'all back here next week. Stay rooted.
Stay rooted, folks.